it all started back in high school. Okay, so I grew up in the LDS church. I did grow up going to church every Sunday for the most part. And, you know, there always comes a point in your life where you need to ask yourself, okay, now, my parents believe in this, and I've been brought up to believe in this, but do I really believe in this? And that's kind of where I got to this point in high school. And, you know, in the LDS church, we're advised not to drink alcohol, and I think that was like, and not to date before you're 16. And it just felt like at that age, as a teenager, it felt like, gosh, our church has a lot of rules. And that's kind of the point, that's kind of how I looked at it back at that age. Now I can see it for what it really is, and it's just great advice for us, you know, to maintain a healthy lifestyle and to be happier. And so now I can see it as a way to live a happier life. But back then I felt like, gosh, I really feel like I'm so deprived of all these things I want to do, like date. You know, I was like really into boys, like most teenage girls are, right? So I like wanted to, I kind of just started going my own way and doing what I wanted, and I kind of fell into this major like party scene, and I was like major partier. Like I don't know, I just really like loved that, and I got into that, and it was like a big part of my life, I guess. And I slowly just it was kind of like a slippery slope. I started with one little thing, and I was like, well, maybe I just want to try alcohol. And so I tried it, and then just kind of went downhill from there. And I just continued to live this lifestyle for a few years. I got a boyfriend, and I just felt as much fun as I thought I was having, I was not fulfilled, and I felt like empty inside. One thing that kept me away from God for so long, because I kept thinking, well, you know, at times where I was having a hard time, where I in the past learned to pray and ask for help, well, I didn't feel like I could pray to God. I really got to the point where I was like, well, God, if I'm not going to follow God's counsel, then He's not going to help me. That's kind of what I thought, you know, He's not going to help me when I need help. He'll just be like, sorry, you should have been following my rules. That's kind of what I thought God was doing. And I kind of, so I never prayed. I never asked for guidance or help when I was struggling so much internally. And I don't think a lot of people really knew to the extent of the struggles I was having internally. You know, like there were I don't know, it was extremely, extremely low point in my life. And it, you know, like I even had like suicidal thoughts, and I just felt like so empty, and I couldn't understand. I did not understand at that young age, like, what is going on with me? What is my problem? Why am I so sad? Why am I not happy, and why am I not fulfilled? And I kept searching for this fulfillment and this joy and this peace. I was searching for it through other people. I was trying to get it from other people, especially in the relationship I was in at the time. I started praying and begging for God to show me the way and help me find that peace and joy and fulfillment that I was searching for. And at that point was little by little things began to happen. And now, you know how those things that happen in your life, you don't really recognize them until later, and you realize, wow, that was totally God's hand in my life. And so now I'm able to look back and see all these little experiences that I had that led me to where I am now. Started making these changes, as hard as it was for me to, first of all, end that relationship, because I felt like I was so codependent at that young age. I could not let it go. As much as I knew that we were not good for each other, and that I was not ready to be in that kind of a serious relationship, I needed to work on myself first. I had a really, really hard time letting go of that relationship. It took me, I think, about 1.5 years to actually end it. it's just always this back and forth. Okay, let's break up. No, I want you back. No, break up. Oh, I can't live without you. And so I could not let go of that relationship as much as I wanted to, until finally I did. I became strong enough. I just kind of started thinking about, well, what could I do to make up for all of this, for my life that I've been living for the last 3 years. I thought, well, I would love to serve an LDS mission. Back then, not many girls were going on missions. Now it's more common in our faith that the girls, young women, are going on missions. And a mission, basically what you're doing is you're leaving your home, you're going anywhere out of country in the U.S. You don't know. You kind of just sign up for it, and they call you to where they feel that you should go. And you'll spend 18 months to 2 years of your life just meeting new people, sharing the message of Jesus Christ, and serving others. That's all it is. There's no TV, there's no music other than church music, no dating, not much recreation. It's a lot of just, you're pretty much sacrificing the entire 18 months to 2 years of your life for God, for the purpose of serving God and spreading the message of Jesus Christ. And so I kept having these thoughts like, well, maybe I could go on a mission, and maybe it would be a way to pay back God for all the wrong that I've done. And so I just wanted to make everything right. I wanted to do everything I possibly could to make it right. And so as I was having these thoughts, I was having doubts in myself. I kept thinking, well, I don't know. I'm not really like the missionary type, like am I even good enough? Would they even allow me to go with my past and my lifestyle that I was living? Would they allow me to even go? Would I be worthy enough? So I was doubting myself, and I kept it inside for a long time because I was afraid what other people would think and maybe even laugh at me like, yeah, right, like, you are not somebody that can go on a mission. Like, I really had these thoughts, like people were gonna laugh at me and be like, okay, sure, yeah, you can go on a mission, like just telling me what I want to hear, but really thinking, oh my gosh, I can't believe she thinks she can go on a mission. So I struggled with those thoughts and those doubts for a while, and then I finally started telling people about it, and sure enough, people were kind of laughing at me, like, yeah, right, like, are you serious? Because I was not somebody that you would expect to go on a mission with my past that I was living, the lifestyle I was living. And so people did, I think, initially think it was a joke, think I was joking. I was 20 when I was thinking about it, and I chose to do it, and as scary as it was and as inadequate as I felt, I was like, hey, well, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna give up. I'm not gonna chicken out, and I'm just gonna go for it. So I struggled, of course, throughout that year between the age of 20 and 21, preparing and thinking, wait, should I really do this? And so anyway, I ended up putting in my papers, and a few months later I got the call to Germany. So I went on the mission, and I tell you, it was no easy task. It was much harder than I even expected. I felt even more inadequate because I was surrounded by all these amazing, amazing young men and women, and I felt like, wow, like, I can't believe they let me go, because I am so far behind spiritually from these people. And I couldn't help but compare myself, and that was hard for me because I felt inadequate for a long time, especially trying to learn the language and feeling like I was so far behind spiritually, so far behind in the knowledge of the scriptures, and then to have to learn a whole new language and have to teach these things in a whole new language was so overwhelming to me. It was really, really hard for the first 6 months, and then I finally started to catch on, and I learned the language, and then it just, it definitely had a bunch of ups and downs, and I definitely felt like giving up many, many times. And I remember at the beginning of my mission, and I had friends at home who were getting married, and I felt like that made it even more hard, because I'm like, I just want to be home, I just want to be getting married, I don't want to be working this hard, I want to be able to do what I want. And it was like, it was a lot, it was very rigorous, very hard work, but anything that's hard is worth it, and it has a huge payoff. And my payoff in the end, I remember in the beginning I heard a talk help God build his kingdom, and he will help you build yours. So that just always stuck in my mind. That kept me going. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna put all my effort into building God's kingdom, and he is gonna bless me, and he's gonna help me build mine. And boy, did he ever. I mean, I got home from my mission, and 5 months later I met Sean, and instantly we just knew we were meant to be together, and it was this instant connection. And at that moment, even that 5 months in between, I felt like, oh my gosh, like I thought God was going to bless me, because I was being impatient. I was like, okay, at the end of my mission, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go home, I'm going to meet my husband right away, and things are just going to be amazing. But it didn't happen that quick. I mean, 5 months was still quick, but when you're going through it, 5 months seemed like an eternity, because I'm like, okay, I did all that hard work, now I just really want to move on with my life. I want to get married, I want to have kids, I want to just I want to be in that stage of my life. And right away, that's kind of what I wanted. And so I had to learn a little more patience. And what I didn't realize either is that God was preparing Sean as well. Like, he was not only preparing me a little bit more, I needed to go through a couple more experiences before I met Sean, but Sean also had to go through some experiences before he met me. And so now looking back, and I'm like, okay, well, you kind of just have to trust the process and always trust in God, because he knows what's right. And Sean and I couldn't have met any sooner than we did. We both had to go through some things first, and it was just perfect timing when we finally did meet, and it just felt like instant. It just felt like instantly this was right, this was God's plan. Now I just feel like, okay, that all that hard work and that going through that really, really tough time in my life took years to have the payoff, but now looking back, those years that it took is such a tiny glimpse compared to what I've experienced from that point on, from my mission on. And I felt like back in high school, when I was going through this really, really dark time, I felt like this is gonna last forever. I'm never gonna be happy. I'm never gonna find a good guy that will love me and that will be devoted to me and trustworthy and all these things that I wanted in a man and a husband. I felt so hopeless, like I'll never find that person. And then I just started to learn to trust in God and to feel God's love and his guidance. And once I did, things just started to turn around. And I like to share this story because I think a lot of times many of us go through life thinking things just happen to us, like we have no control, and we just need to live with the cards we've been dealt. And to some extent that's true, you know, like there is a plan for each of us, and certain things happen and they're unavoidable and inevitable, but we also need to remember how much control we do have in our lives and the outcome of our lives, and the choices that we make, how our choices can truly affect our lives dramatically, more than we'll ever even know. So my choice to serve a mission back 14 years ago was the beginning of a beautiful story. And at that 14 years ago, I could have never foreseen where I would be at now and how much I would be blessed for sacrificing that 18 months of my life. I just wish I could have had more belief back then. I wish I could have heard more stories like this. I hope that I get the chance to share this story with lots and lots of teenage girls, because I want to offer that hope, like, don't worry, this is just such a small time in your life. I did have a couple people that did come into my life that were able to share these kinds of stories with me, and it gave me so much hope. Just to hear these stories from older women that have been through what I went through, and to see how their lives are good, it gives you hope, and you realize, okay, this is not going to last forever. I just need to start making the right choices. Those trials, those hard times never last forever, and especially if we can learn to make the right choices and to choose a better path, that's when our lives become even more beautiful, and we can see God's hand in everything that has happened in our lives, and we can look back and be like, wow, what an amazing story.